George, I think we should forgive and I'll never be this. Sing songs, us sing this. Never give and I'll never be this. Sing songs, us sing this. Never give and I'll never be this. Sing songs, us sing this. Never give and I'll never be this. Sing songs, us sing this. 602.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Darachat, or as the kids would say, Dara. What? But anyway, my name is Daramouthe, or Dara for short. Some people, I'm afraid to say, are still stuck in first grade, as they say Daramouthe, and that is incorrect, children. That is incorrect, and you get enough for that. So some people are getting better, others not so much. But anyway, I'm joined by it's Gun Club, but I don't know what because I don't know if it's you share it with somebody or what.
Well, I use Sully typically on most of my channels. I run two different channels. I go by Sully in real life and on the Gun Club and on Real Hard Truths.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it was like the Gun Club. I was like, well, if you want to stick with that name, I mean, that's a pretty good name to have, but I don't know about that. But but yeah, no, and the thing is that the Sully name reminds me of that plane thing that happened on the Hudson.
Well, I've actually had it quite some time. I usually tell people a lot of times, depending on the age group I'm talking to, younger age group, I'll mention that. Otherwise, I say, okay, think of the big blue monster. Monsters Inc., Mike Sullivan. Yeah, okay, we work.
But you're not scary at all. Give me time, children. Give me time.
You just don't know me that well.
Yeah, that's true. You could be a monster in disguise. You never know, right? You talk about guns 1 minute, and the next thing you know, you come out like Rambo, and that's how it works.
The thing is, I only do it for good reasons.
That's true. That's true, and that's a good thing to have. Otherwise, you don't want to be known as that one guy from what was it, Monster House, where it's like, get off my lawn and all that stuff, and kids would just consider him the most terriblest person ever. And that's
what was that? Clint Eastwood and hey, you kids, get off my lawn.
Oh, is that was it Gran
Torino?
That's right, Gran Torino. Man, it's been so long since I've seen that movie. I remember how it ends, but I mean, it's still one of those, it's still one of those Clint Eastwood movies where he just has that personality that's just like, it's a Clint Eastwood movie. Because my I can't remember what it was, but my parents were watching Dirty Harry. Now that's 70s right there. And you can tell. You can tell. And it's just like, wow, that's what it looked like in Los Angeles in the 70s? Wow. Jeez.
The question is, was it 5 or 6 shots? Do you feel lucky?
Yeah, you got to do it now. Do you feel lucky? Yeah, punk. And I remember, I think that's the scene where, what was it? They did she's chasing him, not through the football stadium, but it was through the it's like a train tracks or something at the end, and I think that's where he says it towards the end. Is where he says, "What do you think it was 5 shots or 6?" But it's been a long time since I've seen the movie. So
Well,
I mean,
there was also the one in the coffee shop where he's in there getting his coffee,
mhm,
and she makes the coffee with a bunch of sugar
yeah.
because they're getting robbed. And
Oh,
he's gone in there every day forever.
yeah,
And he walks out like nothing's wrong. And they're like, how'd you know? He's like, I've been coming in here every morning
yeah,
and I get strong black coffee.
yeah.
And today it's not.
Oh man, you gotta love it though, because he's like what 90 something now, and he's still going strong.
Mm-hmm.
That dude is still. He's like
And he's unapologetic.
Oh, well, that's good. I mean, honestly, you want someone who's like that, especially when it deals with the amount of movies he's made.
Oh, yeah.
I can't even imagine how movies made. But I mean, for him, he is among a small list of actors that are in their 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you really don't, as far as I know, Dick Van Dyke is the only one I know of that's close to being 100. The only one
Mm-hmm.
closer than that I remember was Betty White, but she had died.
Right.
She had died before the new year of, I think it was like 2023 or 22 had begun.
I just know she was going strong forever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she was still walking and talking like she
Mm-hmm.
was. But it's such a fascination because you had James Earl Jones. He passed away at 93. You had all this sort of stuff, and it's sort of that fascination where, um, for some of them, you kind of wish they make it to the 100 just because if you've gotten this far, why not go a
Mm-hmm.
little longer? But you know how it goes.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm hoping Dick Van Dyke gets to 100. You could do it, Dick. Keep going.
Yeah, just watch out for stuff in the living room to fall over.
That'd be the worst way to go. Old man trips over Lego, says "ouch," and then falls.
Walking across the living room, trips over an ottoman, and there he goes.
Oh goodness, that'd be the worst. But yeah. So speaking of the Dirty Harry and all that stuff, you're the man with the gun stuff. What's that like?
Well, it's fun. I'll say that.
Mm,
The channel started. I will have to say it was accidental at best.
mm,
I've been a firearms owner and instructor for quite some time,
mm.
and I got approached blindly. I live in upstate South Carolina, pretty
Wow.
pro gun area, and I got approached blindly during the pandemic
Mm,
from somebody who was an editor of a magazine type
mm.
periodical out of California and asked to write some articles
Nice.
because she said she had several writers she worked with, but no one could write objectively and intelligently about firearms. And there was a
Mm,
lot of court stuff going on then and a lot of legal stuff going on then. And well, guess what? She said, I talked to 5 of my writers and none of them understand this stuff. And she
jeez.
approached me online in a gun chat in a firearms room. I was listed as an instructor.
Mm,
And she said, is there any way you can do this? I'll pay you. And so I wrote a couple of things for her
mm.
because I think guns are misunderstood. I really do. I think
Yeah.
the firearm culture is misunderstood.
Mm.
You know,
Right.
truth be told, my full-time gig is I am a paramedic and an EMS educator.
Oh wow.
I work on an ambulance.
Mm,
I work chasing ambulances around some days in
mm,
a backup rescue capacity.
mm,
But I'm also very pro 2A. I
mm,
teach concealed carry classes. I'm state certified instructor,
mm,
have owned firearms for the last 30 years.
mm.
And one thing I've seen, I see firearms as no more than a tool.
Yeah.
Good or bad.
Yeah. Yep.
You can take a chainsaw you get at your local home store and you
Mm,
can use it for bad purposes or good purposes.
yep. Mm,
You know, and so, but people, there are a lot of people who, I've never thought about carrying a gun. Okay. Bad guys do.
mm, yep.
And I teach a lot of basic entry-level classes. And there's one thing, and I can't take credit for this story myself,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that I have a very good friend of mine who I've known 30 years, and she's a female firearms instructor. She's been in law enforcement. She's retired now on medical, but she still teaches some on the side.
Right.
And she says she does these girls and guns classes at her local gun range.
Oh.
And it's for first-time females who are scared to death of that thing that goes bang.
Yeah.
And she says, okay, I'm going to make it really simple. She said, I want you to think of it like it's like your first pair of heels. It's going to be awkward, uncomfortable, and maybe a little bit painful at first, but you may decide you like them and end up with a closet full.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of first-time students. I know there's probably going to be at least one wandering through tonight that I can say she had, fired a gun one time 11 years ago. And, when crime started getting crazy and things were going wild, we talked, and I said, look, I was out to dinner with her and her husband, and I said, okay, when are you going to the range and getting your permit with me? And her husband started to say something. I said, no, not you. I said, look, if the boogeyman jumps out, you're like 6'4" and decides you'll whine so much he'll bring you back. I'm worried about her. She works nights. She's running errands in kind of a sketchy area. I want her to pack heat in her purse.
Right.
And he just looked at me like, because he was not a pro-gun guy. I'll say that.
Ah, okay.
And he started saying something. I was like, what, she doesn't deserve a right to protect herself? Let's talk. And I don't back down because it's the ultimate force equalizer. I'm going to get my misogyny show. You get yelled at for this one.
Right.
Okay. I'm 6'2", 6'1", about 270 pounds. If Cracky McCracket is sitting outside a store tonight deciding who he's going to rob, is he going to come after me? Or is he going to come after the cute little blonde who's 125 pounds soaking wet with a roll of quarters in her pocket?
Yeah.
Who's coming home from an office job, very well dressed, very presentable. And yeah. Who's the target?
Yeah.
Bad guys don't go after, the larger of the targets.
Yeah.
They want to take the easy way out. So they need to carry more than I do. And if they decide they want to play with me, they've made a bad choice. Exactly.
9mm, yeah.
Yes. But the thing is, and again, I tell them, look, you want to put 125-pound or even a 200-pound female against a 250-pound, male who's potentially on something. There is one force equalizer out there. And, all these wonderful, I know this, and I went to this, that, and the other self-defense class. Really? Now do it with two of them. What?
Yeah.
Pookie and Ray Ray travel in groups. So the thing is, for their safety and their self-defense, I know from my real job, you call 911, they can't teleport them out there. They don't beam them down.
Yeah. Yep.
But so, I told her, I said, come on, we're going. And she talked and talked. And we finally picked a date. She called me a couple days before. Can I bring my mommy?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And I'll proudly say that both she and her mommy and her sister and her brother-in-law have all passed my concealed carry class.
Nice.
Yeah.
One led to a few others, which is pretty awesome.
But the thing is, it was like we went out to the range, and her mom had so much fun. And we're like, okay, well, you had fun with that one. Mom had one old lever-action rifle that she had gotten handed down.
Yeah.
I said, okay, that's great. I said, you played that a couple times. Now, I've got a box of handguns here. And quite literally, I brought, various self-defense type handguns. She tried a bunch of them. She liked one so much, she went out and bought one.
Wow. She's
And it's like, okay, let's go. And I'll still take her and her mom to the range anytime. Let's go. I'll bring the ammo. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Because, you got someone who you sit there and you say, look, I know it's difficult carrying a gun around all the time, but cops don't fit in your pocket that well.
That's true. I imagine someone's tried to Mary Poppins that, and it didn't work out.
No, not really at all. I
The
see Neuro's in here. Good evening, Neuro.
yeah, Neuro's always stops by. But yeah, no, the thing about about that with treating it as a tool and such. I mean, people tend to forget that a majority of items they buy or have in their own home can kill you.
Yes.
Basically, toilet bowl cleaner can kill you if you
Yes.
drink it, and so forth and so on. Um, and then you have like a garden hoe and all this stuff. So yeah, it's one of those things where yeah, it's a very misunderstood thing because it gets equated to something that's um, it gets it gets kind of lost in the translation of, because again it is a tool, bottom straight, right? It doesn't matter what the
Mhm.
weapon type is as long as it does what it needs to. But the point of the matter is that it can't do anything on its own accord, and that's the issue where they keep throwing it back. um,
Right. I mean, I've got one. I mean, it must be defective or something. It must be lazy
mm,
because I've sat there and let it sit on the ground and it just doesn't get up and do anything on its own. I can leave one over there in the corner sitting there and it doesn't do anything.
nope, you could bury it in the
Mhm.
forest and no one will do anything with it. My brother's wife
Yeah.
stopped a break in with a 9 millimeter. Dude got drunk and claimed it was his house. She was home alone, but persuaded him that it wasn't. Well, she was very
Exactly.
good. She's very good at the persuasion, I'll tell you that.
Yes.
S-
But, the stupidity we see on TV
Mm,
and everybody that I've seen, and again, I've been in EMS and public safety dating back to the early 90s.
wow.
And every person I've ever responded to who's been an assault victim, a crime victim, a break in, anything like that,
Mm.
I never thought it would happen to me. Well, you don't think it will until it does.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like survival if you get lost in the woods sort of thing, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you won't know until it happens to you.
Right.
Um, that's why you always go by the old Boy Scout saying, always be prepared, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I don't think they have a badge for gunnery in the Boy Scouts, as far as I know.
I think there's firearm safety or something along those lines,
Hmm.
or
Yeah. I
riflery
wonder.
and marksmanship or something.
Probably that, because there was a camp I used to go to, and they had a range, and it was from like the early 1900s that this camp had started
Mm-hmm.
in, and so they had a range, and it was just your standard hunting rifle. It had like the iron
Mm-hmm.
cross, not the iron crosshair, but had like the little point at the end. And
Little iron sights. Yeah.
yeah, it was just a very basic hunting rifle, bolt action, right? Because you had to
Mm-hmm.
open it up and close it and all that stuff. So it was an interesting time, but it wasn't as loud as you would say like other guns, because you don't have to wear uh, uh,
Ear protection.
ear protection. You didn't have to wear ear protection for them. They
Mm-hmm.
weren't that bad. But some other guns you do.
They apparently have a rifle shooting merit badge.
Oh, well, there you go. So
Yeah.
they do have something.
Yeah.
Just as long as you don't shoot off your counselor's leg, you'll be fine.
Don't shoot the range officer. Rule number one. We don't like that.
Don't aim for it. Don't aim and don't bolt that action. Goodness sake.
Mm-hmm.
I said put it down. For goodness sake, put it down. But no,
Yeah.
I've seen some of those videos too, where like you can see them on like X or something, and it'd be like you have these people who don't know how to use a gun, and they get all willy nilly with it, and they just improper use,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, that was dumb.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you can find those. Those videos are out there. The fails are out there.
Mm,
But the thing is, I can find people doing stupid things with ladders,
mm,
paint brushes,
yep.
kitchen knives.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Again, is there an inherent danger to them? Yes. That's
Mm,
why we learn how to use them. We
mm,
respect them.
mm,
Again, you could take made homemade hazmat. Take 2 or 3 of the wrong cleaners and mix them the wrong way, and guess
oh,
what? You
mm.
can make something that'll get the fire department and the hazmat team to your house.
Yes, because I had a family member who used to work in a pool, And
Mhm.
so the one thing they tell you is don't mix muriatic acid with sodium hyperchlorite.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you get what they known as chlorine gas.
Oil and gas. That's a
Oh
bad thing.
yeah, that's a killer right there.
Mhm.
But yeah, there is a danger in mixing chemicals too. So,
Mhm. But there's
um,
actually I just looked here. There's rifle shooting, there's shotgun shooting, both merit badges.
oh wow, nice. It's been a
Yeah.
while since I've ever looked anything up for the Boy
Mhm.
Scouts. But then again, they're really not the Boy Scouts anymore, as far as I remember.
Yeah, things have changed, I'll say
Yeah,
that. They've definitely changed.
yeah,
I know around here we're seeing it's the other one, Trail Life is a little bit more traditional Boy Scout mentality.
yeah.
I've actually done some first aid stuff for them from time to time
Nice. Oh
because
yeah,
I'm
because
I'm
yeah.
I'm a teacher educator. Yeah,
Mm,
do a little with EMS and a few other
nice.
things.
Yeah, I had when all my family members used to be an aquatic director, they would teach lifeguarding and stuff. But
Hmm.
there's that first aid component to it too, and of
Hmm.
course, first aid by American Red Cross has changed over time. Hey, Bob. A first aid over in American Red Cross has changed over time. Like they don't call it the Heimlich maneuver. You have to call it the abdominal
Abdominal
thrust.
thrusts.
Yep,
Hmm.
yep.
Because Dr. Heimlich's daughter put in for trademark patent on it, and if they were going to print that in the manuals, they wanted to pay royalties.
Whew, man.
But yeah, they update it every 5 years.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
actually it's called ILCOR, the International Liaison Committee on Resuscitation,
Mhm.
and every 5 year on the fives they come out with a new curriculum.
Right. Yeah. Well, though
And
there's still some bases where they keep a same to it, but they have changed certain aspects. Like I think when you're trying to do compressions and stuff, they've changed that a whole bit over time.
oh, they change that every 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
They get together and they have this big committee meeting,
Mm,
and they come out with from ILCOR what
mm.
CPR is now. Is it
Yes.
30 and 2 or 1 and 5 or 8
Yep.
and 6 or
Hmm.
and we're taking this in and we're taking this out and
Hmm.
we're adding tourniquets for hemorrhage control
Hmm.
and again back and forth and we're
Yeah.
taking this and so they publish what all the stuff is for CPR and first aid,
Yep.
and then the Red Cross,
Mm-hmm.
American Heart,
Mm-hmm.
American Safety and Health Institute, National Safety Council
Yep.
all take those definitions and publish their materials.
Right. Okay. So they take it. Okay. Because I always was, because I never knew how it worked, to be honest. Because
Hmm.
I'd take the first aid, CPR and all that stuff. But
Hmm.
because of that change you said, they do kind of, it was what was it? It was something with compressions that they had changed, and they had made it less than over time or something like that. Or
Well, they've for the civilian CPR version, they've taken out the need to do breaths.
okay,
They're
that's right.
doing
I
the
remember
hands
that. Yeah.
only, hands on CPR,
Hmm.
and that is not for like EMTs, paramedics, firefighters, nurses, doctors, but the civilian, the non certified version is to do hands only. And
Hmm.
the rationale behind that was very simple was they are more concerned with someone doing something.
Yeah.
And they found a lot of people had a barrier to doing breaths to I don't know.
Yeah.
So again, if I'm out on my day off and I'm wandering through the grocery store
Mm.
and someone decides they're going to keel over next to the frozen foods,
Yeah.
okay, I can go over and just start hands on CPR.
Mhm.
If I'm wearing my uniform or I'm coming in an official truck, we're
Hmm.
doing it like we've always done it.
Yeah.
But their thing was John Q. Smith walking down the street. He may not want to get involved, and compressions only are better than nothing, and
Yeah.
we'd rather you don't step over them and just keep on going,
Yeah. Well,
which unfortunately people do.
yeah. Well, and part of that is, I mean, I know there are Good Samaritan laws depending on the state,
Yes.
but the problem of it is that people still are hesitant to help when they know they could possibly be sued for helping, right? Because when you're doing compressions, there is a possibility of breaking a rib. It's
Very
just
good possibility.
It's just part of the ordeal, but at the end of
Yes.
the day, it does save somebody's life. but somebody may be sued over breaking a rib, even though that's the possibility and all that stuff.
Well, and again, the Good Samaritan law, protects you for any bystander CPR, bystander first aid stuff. All they ask is that you stay within the limits of your training.
Yeah.
So again, doing basic CPR, great, fine, wonderful. Deciding that you're going to go ahead and like cut someone's throat and crike someone
Yeah,
because you
trachea.
saw it on Rescue 911 last night. Wrong answer. Don't do that. Now, if I get there, I can do it. But
yeah. No,
we
no
need to cut their throat and put a pen in. I hope you know what you're doing.
No trachea, please. No tracheotomy. That's
No
not
surgical crikes, not allowed.
No.
I see Mel's in there. She's the one who brought her mommy to the gun range.
Oh, there you go. Miss Minnie Mel. That's a
Yes.
name in itself right there.
Yes. Her actual name is Mel, but we call her Minnie because she's the living personification of Minnie Mouse. She is absolutely nothing but sugar and spice and everything nice and sweetness and innocence. She says, "Can I bring my mommy to the gun range?" You can bring your mommy. Yes, you can.
Oh, boy.
And then mommy went out and bought a gun. Yeah. And Mel has since bought a gun.
Nice. That's
Yes.
That's pretty awesome.
And they both loved playing with my AR.
Oh, that's even better.
And Mel wants to build one. But she wants it to be like purple and white.
Oh, there you go. Okay,
Yes.
so you have to get the coloring in. I see.
Mm-hmm.
How would you get your gun? Was it be like a side red until you get to oh, that's right, until you get to your bad side. Uh-oh. Careful. Don't want that being the case.
Don't worry. Yeah. No matter how bad it is, just remember you can always just retreat and throw sushi from a safe distance. She'll be fine.
And throw it in the bad guy's face. Mm-hmm.
She's like, yeah, I bought 2. Thank you very much.
See, there.
She actually has one for home and
one for on person.
Yes.
Oh, nice. Yep. I know where my parents live. They live in a sort of a ghetto neighborhood, and I think my dad has a 9-wheeler, I think. But yeah, it's just interesting in the CPR stuff that though it changes, there's still people that are hesitant to help save a life, basically. And you going through that process too is like if you're the one giving CPR, you kind of have to direct like someone to call 911 and all this stuff because everyone's going to be frantic to do anything. And so I do think though learning some basic CPR is best because it does help in the occasion of I think someone said it best is that if you a little more knowledge goes a long way because if you know it you won't panic in a sense or you won't be as panicky as everyone else. And you know how people get, right? The emergency's going down and they're just like off the wall all over the place. If you know how to do something.
Well, and the thing is, it's, I teach a lot of industrial classes and I always start with my opener because a lot of times people are there now. I'm here because HR said I got to be here. And I always tell them, look, I get it. Okay. I totally get it. But I want you to think of something. Basic CPR, basic first aid. You only work about 40 hours a week, which is a quarter of your life. You get a better chance of using this at home or your kid's soccer game or something else. And you know what? If it's your kid who has like a bone sticking out of his leg or who's bleeding or falls on a spike and it goes through their hand. My question, do you want to know what to do or not? I mean, your choice. And usually that's how to get someone goes, yeah, wait a minute. I spend time with my kids and my family and this, that. Yeah, that's okay. Aunt Edna choked at Thanksgiving dinner and nobody knew what to do. It was all fun and games until she went face down and the mashed potatoes started turning blue.
Yep.
And the worst part is then EMS shows up and you had to split your turkey with us. But anyway.
It was the cost of saving a life. It's a turkey.
I'll get Edna. Y'all load the green bean casserole in the truck, guys.
Hold on. Put back the cranberry sauce right now.
Rescue 7's on scene, establishing command. Someone get the cranberry.
just go right in there. Oh my goodness! But no, it's good for learning first aid and stuff. There's good things to it too as well because there's things like fast, right? Fast. If people don't know, that's for stroke, face, arm, speech, and time.
Hmm.
Because stroke is
Yeah.
very time
You look at
dependent.
their face. Yeah. There are some modalities you can only use within 4 hours of the onset of symptoms,
Mm,
and it takes about an hour at the hospital. So that gives us a 3 hour window to get you there.
yeah.
And so you ask them to smile. This is normal.
Yeah.
This is not.
Yeah. Yep. Well.
And you put arms out like Superman.
Mm,
This
yeah.
is normal. If they do this shit, it's not.
Nope. Mm-mm.
Speech, you ask him to complete a sentence.
Mm,
You can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's normal.
mm,
You can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's bad. If
mm,
they fail any of those, you
mm.
get on the horn, you get 911 on the road, and you say
Yep.
they failed a stroke test.
Yep. Yep. And quickly, because
Please.
it's it's a very timed manner, and the quicker you get it, the better your chances are, as far as I
I
understand
went
it.
I went to one a couple months ago.
Mm,
He got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom about 1:30, 2 o'clock.
mm,
He was slurring his speech and
mm.
could not move one side of his body properly.
Oh no.
He went back and laid down,
Oh.
and his wife, family never called nobody. They call us in the morning.
Oh no.
He blew out his window. It was like 7 hours.
Uh.
Yeah, you can tell I teach EMS education, so I can do this off the top of my head all day.
Jeez.
But yeah, he was 7 hours in, which takes away about half of his or 2/3 of his treatment options. They were gone.
Wow.
Yeah. I
Jeez.
was actually a program director for a while for Valid Medical Services,
Mm,
and we teach all sorts of online education and stuff because
mm.
it matters.
Yeah, it does,
The
especially for that.
options I had for him at 8:30 in the morning
Mm,
were very, very limited.
mm,
And I'm guessing, based on his presentation,
mm.
his stroke was what you call a block. All
Ah.
strokes are either a block or a bleed.
Mm,
Stroke is an interruption of blood flow to the brain for some reason. It's
right.
either a blood clot blocking something or an artery rupture that's leaking something.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? It was a block.
Mm,
I'm guessing, I'm pretty sure.
right.
And the thing was, the faster we can get that clot out of the way, and
Yes.
again, if we give that 3 hours, that part of the brain that's not getting blood flow can come back and reset.
Yep.
But
Yep.
guess what?
Mm.
If you blow that time window, that deficit is there forever.
Oh man.
So the question is, stroke care. We've gotten awards in our county for stroke care, and
Mm,
when I do public education, I tell them, look, this is that time. You are very, very glad you don't have to schedule an appointment with us. You don't have to do anything else. We may doze, but we never close.
yeah.
Roll us out code 3 o'clock in the morning. Our county, because we're so rural,
Mm,
if it's a stroke test that's failed,
yeah.
they automatically put a helicopter on standby for us to go to the regional stroke center
Jeez.
until one of our medics says stop the chopper, or stand them down, or cancel them.
Yeah.
But we'll roll out there. We'll do a rapid stroke test. If
Mm,
we see it too,
get
depending
it.
on our window.
Yeah. Gotta get it. That's
Yeah.
the rough stuff. Especially
That's how
since it's
much of their brain survives.
yeah, and especially since it's something that's preventable too, right? Like
It's,
uh,
I can't say necessarily preventable, but very, very treatable.
yeah, treatable. Sorry, that's the wrong word. But there was also one that was called sample. I can't remember
Okay.
what the
That is when you're doing an assessment on a patient,
mm,
signs and symptoms,
yes,
allergies,
allergies,
medications, past
medication.
pertinent medical history, last
Mm,
oral intake or last meal, and the
yes.
events leading up to it.
Yep, that's
Hmm.
because that's survey the scene for when you're lifeguarding. Basically, is when you survey a scene. You're supposed to survey it first, and then you can react to the
Hmm.
person. Now, obviously, there are situations where you can't. That's why you survey a scene first is because if
Right.
there's like
Seeing safe.
yeah, if a power line or stuff like that, that's when you're gonna have to be very wary.
If they're lying in a pile of water and they happen to have their hand on that old electrical cable that's been kind of worn on the edges,
Oh,
yeah.
oh.
You smell something burning? Well done, sir.
Oh, oh, that's it's awful. Oh man. But yeah, you can tell how much I can remember. But I mean, those are I mean, those again, those are important things for just regular people to know, because the more you know, the better your chances of, say, with, say, like you have a family member fast,
Mhm.
right? And then all of a sudden you're able to then my boss gets to fight their family in court. Well, that doesn't sound good. I don't know what that means, but that doesn't sound good. But yeah, because I think there has to be at least some. It's like with swimming, right? There are kids out there that turn into adults that don't know how to swim at all,
Yeah.
and they've grown up without any. You don't know the reason. It could have been their parents were poor, or just they didn't trust
They
the
just
water.
never had an interest in it.
Yeah, yeah, that too. And knowing how to swim at its very basic form can help save a life. You don't have to be like those people that throw their baby in the water and they start swimming up to the pool or whatever. You see those, but it's
Right.
a thing of like you need to have at least some basic. Because there was a story I heard of someone who was in sort of like the beach, and a riptide had come, right? And those are things you don't mess with, as a riptide. Hey,
Right.
bulldozer. And so for riptide, I think the thing is that you just float, and then you go out far enough, and then you swim over, because a riptide is something that will not be want to be messed with.
Typically, you're going to try to swim. Once you get out, swim parallel to the shore.
Yes. Yep.
There's a
Yep.
lot of times the reason a riptide happens is on the beach, there's an underlying area where the sand is lower. So that sand, the water is funneling into that and creating the rip there
Yeah.
on the outflow.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, the wave comes in and all of a sudden all the water is gushing through there,
Mm-hmm.
pulls you out. If you can get out of that trough, either way, work from there.
Yeah, and that's that's again, that's another thing to learn, is
Yeah.
just knowing how to swim. Because I can't imagine. I've seen many adults go into those adult classes, and they are, it takes a lot of courage to be that adult, to take those
Yeah.
adult classes to learn how to swim. But the sad part is that it had to be at that point for them to come to swim.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sad part. Yeah.
And so that's like, again, some people around here, I mean, they grew up shooting guns,
Mm,
family, they were 9 years old and they were going to the range with
mm,
grandpa every other weekend. Hey, great.
yeah.
But if the people, I mean, I've got plenty of people who are 40, 50 years old. I had a woman, she was a widow.
Mm,
Her niece or her great niece or whatever was a good friend of mine.
mm,
And she said, can I send her over to you?
yeah.
Because her husband had passed away.
Mm.
She has a gun in the closet, doesn't in the box, doesn't know what it is or if it's loaded.
Oh wow.
I was like, okay. She brings it over to me and she starts opening the box. I got the box.
Yeah. Stand back. Stand back.
It was a SIG and it was loaded, but there was not one in the tube and she didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And so we worked with her. We took her out to the range. We
Mm.
coached her. And yes, she passed at like age 70.
Wow, that is pretty awesome. There was a funny thing is I went a magna fishing a long while back, and of course it was so crowded and stuff you couldn't do anything with it. But I had pulled out like an old, it looked like an old rifle of sorts, like like a pull, like a maybe it looked was like a BB one or whatever. You know, you that pull lever or whatever. But yeah, there'd be a surprise of how many guns are thrown into the water.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. See, Mel's in there. Yeah. My mom was 70 when you took her to the range.
See, there you go.
And Mel
72.
and her mama both love playing with the ARs.
Oh goodness, 72 when she got her permit. Well, see, there you go. It doesn't matter. You be 72 and still getting your gun permit. See, there you
Yeah.
go.
And
But
again, it's, I want her or her mom. I mean, if they're traveling somewhere, because they go to all these craft bazaars and everything else,
mhm,
you've got two women traveling alone in their car. They have a breakdown.
mhm. Yeah.
And again,
During serious season, I brought my 270 with me to school so I could stop by my spot after school.
yeah.
Mm,
And back in the day, my junior high school had a range in the basement.
yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of this, I think it was some schools during the 50s and 60s would have that because it was during that time period of the war and stuff. So you had to teach kids how to defend themselves. One, I know it's mostly like old rifles as well, but those things are long gone and all that stuff. But no, that's an interesting time to be in, especially when that was at a school instead
Yeah,
of at a range. Well, it was at a range, but
it was at a range in a school.
yeah,
We
yeah.
had a riflery team.
Jeez,
Now,
that's
the funny part was I never got into riflery because it was a winter sport,
you're right.
and my winter was all ice hockey.
Oh.
But honestly, there were had I joined the riflery team, I would
Mm,
have been bringing my rifle to school every day.
yeah.
And you just bring it to, the riflery coach's homeroom.
Mhm,
His classroom had a gun safe in it,
mhm,
and you walk in the door and you have to go straight to his room. You give it to him, he locks it up, and
mhm.
then at the end of the day, he'd be walking downstairs with 5 or 6 guns.
Yeah, yep.
Uh,
It's a funny
The
thing.
gun is a piece of metal with some springs and some stuff and maybe some wood finish or plastic on it.
Yeah, yeah, depending on
Mm.
do you also teach gun cleaning and all that stuff as well?
Sure. Pretty much whatever. If there's something that I have a student who's interested in learning, I'm
Mhm.
in for it.
Wow, that's pretty awesome
Um,
though.
because the thing is, okay, how to clean it, storage,
Mhm,
we go over the state concealed carry stuff.
mhm,
I'll also go over just the basic stuff of Guns 101, which
mhm.
is a non-shooting class.
Oh,
It's all
okay.
the classroom, it's all the safety,
Mhm,
and I'll do that like 14 and up. But the one thing I will say is the 14 to 18, they've
mhm.
got to have a parent in the class with them.
Yeah, understandable, yeah.
But okay, they want their 14-year-old to learn basic gun safety, basic marksmanship, all that
Mhm.
stuff. Yeah.
Time I lived in Alaska, Delta Junction in early 2000 had a H high school
I,
with a shooting team and produced several Olympic team shooters over the years. All from one tiny town in Alaska?
yeah.
Wow. Nice. Delta Junction. Oh, okay. I didn't know there's a I have to look that up. 2000s. Okay. So there at least are still some high schools. Very rare probably, but
Hmm.
there are probably still some high schools with that out
And
there.
to me, it's sad. And now I will say, Arkansas,
Mm.
of all places, they have just mandated firearm safety training for every grade level K-12.
Wow.
And
Jeez.
it's going to start and it's age appropriate.
Right,
Now,
obviously.
I've got a neighbor.
Mm.
He's an accountant. She's a school teacher. They're the
Mm.
normies.
Mm.
Yeah. They both did their concealed carry permits with me.
Mm.
And, we used to hang out and we'd go over there and sit and drink beer on their porch of an evening. And,
Mm.
they had a pool table in their garage. Nice young couple.
Mm.
We had a great time. Well,
Mm.
we're sitting there one day, and it was after I had done the classes for the two of them. I
Mm.
said, "So when are you going to have me start teaching your kids?"
Mm.
And they're like, "Really?"
Mm.
I was like, "Yeah." And the school teacher who teaches like 3rd grade at the local elementary school, she's like, "Really? You think my kids are like old enough to learn?" I said, "Yeah, I've got a curriculum for it."
Mm.
And she said, "I want to see this." I said, "Okay." Well, the youngest one was in bed, but like the 7-year-old was still awake.
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, watch this. Stop. Don't touch. Go away. Find an adult. Can you do
Mm.
that with me?" And so we started doing like patty cake.
Yeah.
Stop. Don't touch. Go away. Don't adult. Stop. And she looked at me and we got done with it. And she said, "What was the point?" I'm like, um, guess what? If she's out on the playground, do y'all go out before the kids go on the playground at the school and check to see what got dropped there over the weekend?
Yeah.
Or there were a couple kids in the parking lot making a deal and they saw something with blue lights on it slow down and hit the brakes,
Mm.
and they didn't want to get caught in possession of something, so they took it and threw it over the fence.
Yep.
And she looked at me and I'm like, "So you're saying there's a very good possibility they could go outside and find syringes,
Ugh.
this?" So then she's like, "Not only has the school now instituted a Monday morning sweep of the property,
Mm.
but," I was like, "they could find it." They could go in a gas station bathroom one day and find it.
Oh,
What? Okay, think of it. Someone's sitting there. They've got outstanding warrants. They're not supposed to be in possession anyway. It's
Yep.
illegal. As all knows what. We all know it.
Mm.
Uh-oh, those two blue uniforms just walked in the door. So what do? Go in the bathroom and ditch their stash.
Yep.
Well, you can flush the junk. You can flush the drugs. You can't flush the pistola.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
they ditch it somewhere. They hide it somewhere so they can come back and get it.
Yep.
But
Mappers.
kid goes in and finds it next.
Yep. And
So every kid, and again, that's K through 4.
yeah.
Please teach your kids, stop, don't touch, go away, tell an adult.
Yeah.
They
Yep.
go over to their friend's house and their friend found something because their fire wasn't properly stored.
Yep.
Stop, don't touch it. As long as it's sitting there on the desk, it can't go off.
Yeah.
Stop, don't touch, go away. Because if there's a group of 10 kids, one of them will be dumb enough to pick it up.
Yeah.
You want to be as far away as possible.
Yep.
And tell an adult.
Yep.
And I looked at her. It was so funny. I said, now, in your case, I know you're an adult, but call it an adult here, you're an adult. And she says, oh, I ain't touching it. I said, thank you. Thank you. On behalf of myself, my dog, and the rest of the neighborhood, thank you. And he chirped up and he goes, I wouldn't do it either. He said, both of us would call you. I was like, that's good. We like that.
Yeah. Oh, that's too funny. And then Roy writes, I used to go to the Fort Roots Training Academy in Little Rock fairly frequently. My last agency before I retired. I always liked it there. Super nice and wonderful people. Fort Roots Training Academy. I'm guessing that's a gun sort of thing.
And probably a military school.
Well, that makes sense too. And then Neuro says we used to bring our rifles on the school bus.
Yeah, we couldn't bring ours on the bus, but we'd walk in with them. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, those were different days back then when we could bring it with you or whatever.
And the thing is, I will swear, it's not the guns. It's the lack of discipline up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
You look at 9 times out of 10 when something does happen, even with kids. This has been the 15th problem that the first 13 were brushed under the rug and not handled.
Yeah. And I think
it escalated to this level.
Yeah. Well, and I think another part of it too is you were talking about if the kids see something. There have been many stories where a kid picks up a gun that's not stored well, and it usually ends up in them, not being around anymore.
Right.
And you see the other people blame the gun when it's basically just bad responsibility.
Well, it's bad responsibility, and I love what Arkansas is doing. They're doing, the basic bare minimum of teaching them don't touch this.
Yeah.
Because you know what? When it wasn't such a big secret,
yeah,
it wasn't so interesting to touch them.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it, it's like, if someone sees that gun, it's almost, you've made them so taboo, they're attractive to kids.
Yeah. I see.
Okay, you think about it. If 10-year-old has another 10-year-old come over to the house when mom and dad aren't there, they don't go to the kitchen drawer and look at the really cool screwdriver that's in there because that's a screwdriver, who cares?
Yeah.
And they don't go look at, the spoons that are in the kitchen drawer or the deck of playing cards that's in the living room. No, they don't look at any of that. What do they want to show? Look what I found.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's usually, either, a gun, dad's dirty magazine collection, something.
Yeah.
What is going off? What is the big deal?
Yeah.
And if the other kid's like, you don't need to be touching that, I'm getting the hell out of here. Why?
Yeah.
Teach them. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's a responsibility factor. It's like again with the chemicals thing in your own home. It's like even the warning labels on there. You still tell your kids, do not, use this only for what it's necessary. Don't touch.
Right.
Don't touch this.
And it's the kid who brought the rocket ship to class. You heard about that one, didn't you?
Oh, what was that
little
one?
Boy, little Johnny brought a rocket ship to class, and for show and tell, and he pulls it out of the backpack
Mhm.
and turns it on and starts making a buzzing noise.
Yeah.
It was taboo because he found it in Mom's nightstand.
Uh
Just saying. Turn it
that's
on.
that's that's the mom's
Yeah.
fault. That's the mom's fault right there. As a teenager who went deer hunting every year, but I was more concerned with hunting split-tailed does. Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can get in trouble for that. You can get in trouble for that. And that's why they have some places have. I know Michigan, you have to get a permit for hunting season, and I'm assuming other places have you have to get a permit for deer
Right.
hunting season. But yeah, it's one of those things because I think they only allow you to take the male ones down, but you cannot shoot the female ones, female deer.
It depends on, I think, seasons and different. Every state and area has different hunting regs. I've never been that much into hunting,
Yeah,
quite frankly. I grew up in New York City.
yeah. Oh,
You
there
know,
you
I enjoy going out, camping or this, that, and the other just to chill.
go.
But oh yeah, let's get up at like 4 in the morning and go out all camoed up and sit in the woods, and yeah, no,
You could you could be
doesn't do much for me.
Yeah, you could be that guy who goes fishing and instead of using a using a fishing pole, you're just out there throwing dynamite into the water.
Yeah. Yeah, my thing would be, it's like, okay, you need someone to like drive the boat and drink beer. I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to sit here and do this all day? Yeah.
I don't know what's worse, me burning in the sun or me having to drive this thing. That would be the worst thing out there. Just like, come on, guys, can I do something else other than this? This is too long.
Fishing
Oh,
is just, and again, it's very much a product of what you grew up in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hockey, yeah, definitely. You
Mm,
know, football, yeah, I can
yeah.
watch my sports all day. I
Mhm,
can do that. I can go read a good book,
mm,
enjoy it. But it's like, okay, going to do all this stuff and this sink and that lure, I've done it, but
yeah. Yeah, that's there was something else, but yeah, it's just doing that, you just be like you have to end up like one of those people that just throws like firecrackers or something out in the water. It's like, all right, there's my next fish.
yep.
Oh man. But I do know some people use compound bows too for hunting deer. I do know
Hmm.
that some people use because those are pretty strong if you use them
Yeah.
right. Those things can pound of pressure, I
Yeah.
believe.
Different um bows. We have primitive season here with his muskets and
Jeez.
different, things, not muskets, but muzzle loaders and
Muzzleloader, okay.
all different,
Mhm.
seasons here. And usually I'll work a lot of the extra shifts when my buddies want to be out for opening day of kill whatever furry creature it is this week series.
Mm.
Hey, y'all, that's great. Just remember all these swaps I did for you when it comes to me football season because I'm not planning on working a lot of Sundays. Just saying.
That's and then a Roy Rat says I went big game hunting fishing in Alaska because Alaska, true. But
Mhm.
I'm like, Sully, not really much of a hunter. It was almost always because a buddy would drag me along. Hey, you know what? If you get to drive the RTV or the six, whatever it is, I mean, that's part of the fun right there. All right.
Yeah. Just don't flip it over like our guy did last shift. Don't do that. Yeah, we've part of the county I work in is national forest area here.
Yeah. However, I did lots of spruce grouse hunting. Was it grouse? Spruce
Grouse hunting.
grouse hunting up there
Yep.
because it is legal to use a 22 rifle for bird hunting there. I think that's what the camp I had. That's what they had is a 22 hunting
Probably.
rifle
Yeah.
because again it's not it just has that little iron nib at the end and you're kind of
Yeah.
focusing on that. Um, but no, that's pretty interesting. I didn't know. I'm guessing that's a goose or spruce. I'm guessing that's a goose. If that's what he's saying, a spruce grouse
A
hunting?
grouse.
Grouse. What is that exactly?
It's some type of winged creature.
It's like snipe, right?
No, it's not quite up there with snipe. But you know what? If we're all gonna go out, we're gonna go camping and hunting and everything else.
Yeah.
What's that? You need someone to chill out at the campsite and keep the fire safe
Mm.
and keep the beer on ice and sleep in the morning when you all go out.
Hey, I'm right there with you.
I'm your guy.
Hey, I'll keep that fire running. You just keep hunting.
Yeah.
And Roy Rat says, I would sling my my 22 over my back and jump on my dirt bike and just take off into the woods. Spruce grouse are small, chicken-sized birds, tasty. Wow, nice.
Okay. It was some type of winged creature. I know.
Yeah. I know some people do duck, but I think you
Hmm.
can't shoot Canadian geese because there's a law on them.
I'd say it would probably be state by state.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just trying to remember
Yeah.
but geese, but ducks. Those are. I know that there's something with them that makes them difficult to cook with, sort of like bear meat. Because I know there's some people who, on a rare occasion, if you get lucky, you'll do bear. But bear, like
Hmm.
game meat, is very different way of
Hmm.
cooking it because of the fat and all the stuff that kind of goes with it. And all that stuff. It's good eating goose. Oh well, hey, I believe you. It's just it's not easy cooking, as
Right.
far as I know. Because I had a family member. I think it was for Christmas. They actually did a goose. They did a goose for one Christmas. Like, why would you do a goose and all that stuff? But
Well,
I
their
never
goose
tried.
was cooked.
Yeah, that one ain't talking no more. It spoke a little too much, if you know what I mean.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not a hunter either, but I do think there are some things you can get out of it. If you're not hunting, you can get the scenic route. It
Mhm.
can just be a time to be away from all the city and
Oh
technology
yeah.
stuff. Um,
Well, that's like I said. I've got a buddy who runs a school. It's a wilderness school,
mhm,
self-reliance, all kinds of stuff like that. And we go in, and I do a lot of his medical wilderness first aid training and that
yeah.
stuff. And so he's a former sheriff's department,
Wow.
and I know where his school is. It's here in the county,
Nice.
and I could pack my truck right now. I'm working shift tomorrow, but if I was off tomorrow, I could call him up and say, "Hey, I'm coming down to the property. I'm going to camp out for a few nights. You good with it?" And it's like, yeah. And even if he's got a class going on, I'll set up somewhere. He's got like 18 acres, backs up to
Wow.
federal wildlife land,
Jeez.
and you don't get in and out there without four-wheel drive or knowing where you're going.
Oh yeah.
And I'll set my tent up there. I've got a folding cot that goes in my tent, like a military cot,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and I'm good. And it's the greatest escape from everything.
Yeah, and Roy says I can't hit anything flying with a shotgun, so the 22 made it nice. Yeah, we took a lot of birds with the Marlin 22 over the years. I still prefer a 22 and air gun hunting to big game.
Hmm.
Air gun hunting. I know there's air guns, but I didn't know you could hunt with an air gun.
Hmm.
Or is
Yeah,
that?
they've got some of them now that are tuned up. You can get them that'll give velocities like 22s.
Jeez, wow. But I usually only hunt invasive varmint species anymore. I kind of turn into hippie.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. But no, that's one of the things too is getting to go out and camp too. And I haven't done that in a while, but because majority of the time it's like you go to like these campground areas like KOA, if anyone's ever heard of them.
Hmm.
KOA, there's KOA campgrounds and stuff. Those are usually like sort of rustic, but not really. So I don't know what it's like a mid range of rustic and not rustic.
Yeah, yeah. I've gone to some of the campgrounds, and some of them are really nice.
Oh yeah, yep.
The only thing is, for me,
Mm.
if I want to go out in the woods, I don't want to be closer to the person parked next to me than I am to the house next to me at home. What's the purpose of going to live primitive if the people next to you have fluorescent lights on
Yeah.
and are playing country music out of their speakers? Dude, really? I'm more out in nature in my backyard than I am. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I gotta sleep. Turn off the music for
Oh
goodness
no,
sake.
I'm the one who, I'll be up all night,
Oh.
but I'm nocturnal. So,
Oh, there you go. Sort of
but
night
on the
owl.
other side of the coin, it's like, wait a minute.
Hmm.
what's the point of getting away from it all when it's more people here than it is at home?
Yep. Oh yeah.
But
Yep.
no, I got to my buddy's property. I'll text him right now. Hey, I'm coming out for a couple days. In fact, I've got some shifts off coming up because I'm doing some swaps. I
Hey.
can go out there to his property, put my tent, throw my stuff out there,
Yep.
set up my kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
The only light beside the starlight you'll see is my little camping lantern.
Yep. That's a pretty nice moment. But anyway, it is the top of the hour, and so what happens is I set aside some time for us to promote ourselves, and so hey, Knizzy, and so I did put all the links I could find of yours. But if you want to sell yourself, not like that, the floor is yours.
Alrighty. Well, my name is Sully. I run 2 channels right now. One is the Gun Club, as you might have guessed. We talk about guns.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is a little bit more political commentary. It's called Real Hard Truths.
Mm-hmm.
And it was honestly, the mentality behind starting it was very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're watching the national news tonight and they've got a 30-minute window, by the time you take out commercials, you're down to 22. By the time you take out sports and weather, you're down to about 16. And so they cover a story in a minute and a half that should really be a 30-minute dissertation.
Mm-hmm.
Big stories, and it will be anything from the crash that happened at DC with the air helicopter crash.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And we did that, and we literally went through the NTSB report. This is what happened. This is how it happened. No, it wasn't a DEI thing. No, it wasn't anything. It was very poor airspace utilization by the FAA.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, that's how it happened, and this is what's being done to fix it. We talked about the crash of the Jeju flight over in South Korea.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? You know, the pilot did the best job they could. They hit multiple birds.
Mm-hmm.
They literally turned a commercial 737 into a glider with 0 engine power on one side and 20% on the other.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he managed to actually put it on the runway was a miracle. The reason he couldn't put the gear down, the hydraulics were dead based on the engines being dead. The tragedy of it came in that somebody in their infinite wisdom, and this is totally on South Korea, built the wall for the antennas for the localizer at the end of the runway. Now, there are a lot of runways that have the localizer antennas at the end, but they're mounted flush to the ground with a breakaway.
Mm-hmm.
That plane did not burst into flames until it ran into the brick wall that they mounted the antennas on. You can look at it. I've got the videos. I've got the pictures.
Jeez.
The antennas were literally set, in such a way that, there was a concrete cinder block wall reinforced with dirt on both sides, and the antennas were mounted on that.
Jeez.
That is what ripped the fuel tanks open on the plane.
Jeez.
Not the crash. That plane could have come in, skidded, and been fine. But when it hit a brick wall and ripped the tanks, that was that.
Yeah.
So again, taking what's a real event and saying, let's look a little deeper into this. Yeah, and with my background, I know a little bit about aviation. I've done aircraft rescue firefighting. I've done fire suppression. We talked about the California wildfires when everybody was all complaining about, well, the chief video said this and the chief video DEI that. Look, I'm sorry. They had a 117 million gallon reservoir that was empty.
Wow.
I don't care who your chief was. She could be black, white, yellow, purple, straight, gay, trans. I don't give a rat's rip. Guess what? When you've got 117 million gallons of water you're counting on and your hose goes limp,
yeah,
you're screwed.
Yeah.
That is why that happened.
Jeez.
But again, taking in real news stories, stuff, and going through what really happened.
Yeah.
Because the news can't provide that.
No.
Not in the window they have.
Oh, and there's your other one, Real Hard Truths, right there as well.
Yeah. And like I said, we'll dig into anything on there, and it's and I tell people on that one, because I've got a Twitter page for both of them, if they have something they want me to dig into more. I had someone come to me and say, yeah, I'd love to know more about this Korean air accident and the Jeju accident. I said, okay. and I'll pull the NTSB reports.
Wow.
You know,
That's
if
crazy.
what happened with that crash at DCA? How did that possibly happen? Oh, here's page 5 of the NTSB report that says the helicopters have to stay under 200 feet,
Mm,
and the planes are coming over at 275 to 225 on their glide path coming in.
mm,
So there you've got helicopters passing within 75 feet of a plane.
yeah.
That's an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah.
They should have far more separation. So again, now what's happened? The FAA has now shut down that air corridor, that corridor 4 they were on.
Mm,
Yeah. Yes, the helicopter was 70 feet too high, and the plane was right on their glide path.
yeah.
But guess what? They had had at least one near miss a month for the last 3 years. And no
Jeez.
one fixed this.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
So, yeah. But again, it started out, we'll blame the pilot. It was a pilot in training. It was a trained flight. Yeah, it was. But they were doing something that had had one near miss a month for 3 years.
Mm,
And we had a collision. Imagine that.
yep. Yep. Incompetence is what it usually ends up being, unfortunately.
Well, we talk about the Swiss cheese model, where, you know what, the holes in the Swiss cheese lined up just right that day.
Mm.
So, yeah.
And of course, 1 second, I need to find it. Oh, of course, thank you, Kinizzy, for raiding the stream. I appreciate it. But from my end of things, and again, his links are down below. If you want to see where he's
Appreciate
at, and just go down there and kind of check him out. If he's worth following, well, why not? Why not do so? But for my end of things, whether you're on the Rumble side or the YouTube side, doesn't matter which one. If you wouldn't mind leaving a like, sharing the content, leaving a comment or follow, anything that helps the engagement factor is much appreciated, because not only does it help in being seen more, like all creators want to be, but it also helps in having other people on, like Sully here from the Gun Club, or like Kinizzy, or like so many other people, because at the end of the day, I just do this to converse with people. There's really no other reason other than doing so. I'm not an
We've been
interviewer.
trying to line this one up forever. It's
Oh, yeah.
actually been kind of funny.
Yeah, it's been a one in the making, so it's glad it happened. But any help with the engagement factor is much appreciated. Of course, there's a link down below for my stuff as well. Twitter X, email. I have a thing to DM at Discord. Anything that anywhere you want to check me out, that's there. And of course, if you want to come on yourself, there's a comment section down below or the link. Doesn't matter which way you want to go. Anything helps. Again, engagement factor and link down below. I appreciate you all. Oh my goodness! And where?
I think this is talking about a near miss last week. Are you talking about the one with the military aircraft? The military aircraft that was flying for the missing man formation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I follow a lot of the aviation stuff pretty closely.
Monday Fun Day, and there's some from Roy earlier. What was it? Oh. I'm in Arizona these days, and it's legal to hunt even medium-sized game species with the number 30 caliber high-power air rifles today, and also legal in Arizona for non-violent convicted felons. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
How about that? And sometimes people screw up when they're younger, and so air gun hunting is the only way they can do any type of legal shooting hunting. Man, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Well, the funny thing is now the new DOJ, Pam Bondi, the new Attorney General, has actually got people working on restoring people's gun rights who messed up when they were younger.
Yeah, there's this.
Because technically, a felony conviction, we think of it being, they did something really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the scary one for you. Violent felonies are one thing. Martha Stewart's insider trading got a felony conviction. So theoretically, Martha Stewart has no gun rights.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not that concerned about Martha Stewart's gun rights. It don't matter if she's packing heat. Okay. On the other side of the coin, if you've got a 15-year-old who did violent gang stuff when they were 15, and it got sealed, they've got gun rights.
Yeah.
So she's working on trying to restore people's gun rights who are non-violent. That makes all the sense in the world to me, and I've supported that.
The only heat Martha Stewart will be packing is those sweet Christmas rolls you'll have every
Mm-hmm.
She'll be like, and to pack this heat, just pulls off the towel. It's my sweet Christmas rolls.
Mm-hmm. But no, if she sat there and she said, "Look, I want to be able to own a firearm for self-defense or personal protection," I would have no problem with that. And there's a lot of people who have, like you said, did something stupid when they were younger,
Mhm.
you know, and if you hacked into the wrong person's computer when you were 17 and a half years old, guess what?
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. Shall not be infringed. I agree.
Yeah, always with the shall and the not part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand it. I saw some people talking about it earlier, but at the end of the day, though, I my okay. Me, for my thing, I've never relied on Rumble promoting me in any way, nor have I been an editor pick, so it's not that big of a deal. Because I mean, I'm on YouTube too, and that's the most difficult one to grow on. But at the end of the day, though, I mean, I get it, but if if your enjoyment of content creation is because you're growing or getting the numbers or whatever, you do you. But for me, it's not about that. It's about getting to talk to many different people. And yeah, sure, the numbers play a part of it. But the point of the matter is that I think I think people are relying on the system too much to put them out there. When in truth, I'd rather be one who doesn't rely on a system at all. And that's the issue.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking
And
about the grid program. Yeah.
I know for me, there's times I'm sitting here and I'm doing something, and it's like, okay, I'm covering, something that I think is important, or we're talking about a, shooting situation, or I'm doing a deep dive because,
Mhm.
again, there's a 2-minute media blurb about this shooting that occurred in wherever,
Yeah.
and it's like, really? Oh, this shooting happened in a park,
Yeah.
and there were kids involved.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. The shooting happened at 10:30 at night on a Friday night during a race car takeover of a park doing donuts in the parking lot.
Nope.
So it evokes a little bit different. And yeah, the shooters, one was 20, one was 17,
Mm.
and one was 15.
Wow.
Yeah. So none of them could legally buy the handguns that they were illegally carrying and
Jeez.
shooting stuff up in the park. So yeah, yeah. But again, I'll take a deep dive on that. And these days I'm talking to nobody, but I'm like, okay, maybe someone sees this someday, or the nice thing is it goes out there. Hey, look, the next day it went pretty big. Okay, I'll take it.
Right. And as you stated before, you don't you already doing other stuff too, so you don't rely on this for any financial manners. And
Um,
there's a lot of people who do, and for me, I just kind of like I get it, but for me, it's like if I made it enough from this sort of ordeal where I didn't, it would be less like a 9 to 5 because I do work a full-time job. I still would have a part-time job because it's fallable.
yeah.
All of this is fallable. It takes power to run these things, and if power goes out,
Mhm.
there it goes. C'est la vie, that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
I just do 911 stuff. So I
yeah.
pull about 60 hours a week. And
Uh,
so my streams, we work 24-hour shifts.
okay.
I go in at 7 o'clock in the morning and I'm there till 7 o'clock the next morning
Mm,
at whatever station I'm at. The
right.
county I'm in is about 750 square miles. Um, Sometimes I'm on an ambulance with a partner.
Mm,
Sometimes I'm on a one-man truck out in the middle of nowhere.
jeez.
And when I say in the middle of nowhere, there was one of our stations. We don't have the station anymore,
Mm,
but it was 18 minutes from the closest
mm,
ambulance.
wow.
So if the closest ambulance in the county was coming to my station,
Mm,
it would take them 18 minutes to get there. And I was 15 minutes from the county line.
wow.
So in that area, I could do everything that the ambulance could do except give you a ride.
Mm.
But I was a regular one-man arsenal against death and disease. And I was riding around in a little pickup truck with a bunch of bags in the back.
Yeah.
And so I'd roll up with the cardiac monitor, the defibrillator, and the drug bag,
Yeah.
come humping in the house with it, and just work on grandma underneath the Christmas tree if I had to.
Yep, that's the biggest gift of all, grandma underneath the Christmas tree, and
Just I will say that if you're ever running a cardiac arrest near a Christmas tree, be
yeah.
careful that your paddles don't arc on the tinsel. Bad news. Especially if the tree is dry. Anyway.
Wow, that tree's on fire. Ooh, that tree's on fire.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's That's another thing too, is like we had to learn how to use an AED device. And of course they've made an AED device dummy proof, in the sense of it will talk you through the process to some degree.
Place the pads on patient's bare chest.
Yep. Place it.
Place the pads on patient's bare chest.
What did it say? I don't know
Place
how to
the
read.
pads on patient's bare chest.
Yep. Yep. And they
But,
even show you a diagram too on the pads, I believe, of where you're supposed to
Oh, yeah.
place them. And
Oh yeah.
it's basically the machine. The machine only needs the physical aspect of the individual to put the stuff there, and then it takes the rest of the way.
Stop compressions, analyzing rhythm. Stop compressions, analyzing rhythm. And what it does is from the pad A to pad B,
Yeah.
it looks for what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's looking for VFib. It's basically ventricular fibrillation.
Yep.
Morning, Mary. Nice of you to join us, sunshine. She's one of my regulars.
Well,
But,
and you're late. No, but yeah, it's.
And Mary, you can even give them a like over on YouTube, just to give you a heads up there.
Yeah. But like you were saying, yeah, the defibrillator does check to make sure that the heart is in rhythm, because either because there's different forms. There's the when your heart's going really fast, I think it's VTech or something like that. Or no,
Bro, I'll take you down the road if you want.
Hey,
Okay.
I'm here for it.
Okay. It's really simple.
Mm.
We want to see like a little bitty lub and then a big dub and a little hump.
Yeah.
That's what we're kind of looking for. Beep, beep,
Yeah.
beep, 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 beep,
Yeah.
beep. Now, if you've got VFib, that's chaotic electrical activity. It's just doing garbage.
Yep.
Now, if it's got that, nothing normal can happen. And when we say nothing normal can happen, it's the equivalent. When I teach this, I always say, okay, you take 100 third graders and you put them in a classroom.
Yeah.
No adults, no control, no nothing, and you go out and walk outside.
Oh.
You come in 10 minutes later, and the noise level is up to here. There's paper airplanes. There's desks knocked over. It's total chaos.
Yeah.
And you say, kids, come on, line up. Kids, line up.
Yeah.
And you're getting nowhere.
Yep.
So you walk back outside and say, I can't get it to do anything.
Yeah.
And the PE coach says, yeah, really? Watch this. He walks in and he lets fly with that whistle.
Uh-huh.
And the minute it stops, you could hear a pin drop. Everyone's like, uh-oh.
Yep.
The defibrillation is the equivalent of that whistle.
Yeah.
It sees the chaotic electrical activity, and because of that, the heart can't muster up a normal beat.
Yes.
So we'll pass the electricity through it, 200 joules biphasic, and we will, reset it basically.
Yeah.
The defibrillator, much to a lot of people's misunderstanding, does not jump start the heart.
Mm-hmm.
It is designed to stop the chaos
and
get it so it can line up and function again.
Yeah. Resetting it, basically. It's just basically reset it.
And I will say this. I know it's not a channel that I promote a bunch.
Yeah.
But if you go looking on YouTube for Valor Medical Services, which is a company I worked for quite some time, you can actually learn how to watch a cardiac rhythm on there. It'll have a logo on the channel, looks something like this. I was the program director there. I still am, but the company has decreased a bunch of stuff, but...
Is this it? I said Valor Medical. So I don't know if that's
no.
Did I spell it wrong, or?
Let me see if I can find... try services. You've got it spelled right. Try adding Valor Medical Services on it.
There we go.
There you go. That channel there, basic EKG channel, all that stuff. Yeah, those are all my videos. That's how I actually got into making videos. We were making online education for our company.
Mm-hmm.
And then in my free time, we went ahead and started doing gun videos and political videos and everything else.
Oh, there you
But
are.
yeah,
There you are,
yeah.
right there.
But yeah, National Registry recertification. You can go down through there. You can learn about bleeding control,
Assistant devices for EMS, crew resource management for EMS. Wow, there's a lot of stuff here. That's crazy.
burn care. Yeah. But if you go on our channel, any of the videos with that logo, those are all, those videos were videos that we were selling
Mm-hmm.
commercially, but we also put some of the samples out there for people to learn. So
Yeah.
again, EKG Interpretation 101, that's it right there if you want to learn how to read a monitor.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's pretty amazing itself that because again it's just information for people to understand, especially on a basic level.
And again, you can go on there and learn about bleeding control. You can learn about thoracic chest trauma. You can learn about pediatric stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Diabetes, field triage. That's incredible. It's a lot of information.
I
But
wrote all of those. That's Christy down the bottom. She's one of our assistants here in the office.
wow, that's pretty
And
nice.
that's where we started our video media production stuff.
Mhm.
Because guess what? During the pandemic, we had to put our whole video program online.
Yeah, it was working for the time at least.
Yeah.
There we go. But yeah, no, that's
But
pretty.
yeah, if people are interested in learning something, and I will say this, I know he's put my stuff out there for X, or I'm on pretty much on X between Real Hard Truths and the Gun Club. I've got an account for both.
Mm,
If you've got a question about something, throw it out at me. Seriously, if you say, okay, my girlfriend's got seizures, and I'm dating this chick who's got seizures, and what
mm,
exactly should I do? Like, what do I do if she has a seizure, like in the bathtub or something?
yeah.
And some professionals will tell you to make sure you drain the water and keep her head above water and out of the
Yep.
airway. Others will say, you know what? Throw the laundry in. It's a shame to see all that effort go to waste. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, no, but the I also know is that for people who have seizures, you have to like lay them on their side and lay them on their arm, so that way if they throw up, they're not drowning in their throw up, as
Very
well.
good. Very
Yeah.
good. And keep everything else out of their way. Make room for
Yes.
them to have a seizure.
Yes.
Prop them up as best you can.
Hmm.
And when they start to come out of it, realize they've just gone through like a hard reset of their brain. The same way as if you did a hard reset on your computer. It's going to take a while to power back up.
Yeah, that
And
sucks.
so they're going to come around out of it. They may not even know they had a seizure because, well, they weren't there. They were having a seizure while they had the seizure.
Yeah.
And so, hey, I will actually, generally, if I've got them on their side, especially if it's a stranger, I try to be behind them on the backside. So if they
Mm,
start to roll back, they're sort of rolling in my legs.
mm,
Also, hey,
yeah.
sit there and, hey, my name is Sully. I'm a paramedic. You had a seizure. My
Yep.
name is Sully. Hi, my name is Mike. I'm a paramedic. You had a seizure. And again and again and again and again,
Yep.
because they're not processing it at this point.
Yeah. They're just
Think
probably
about
still in
it.
shock.
You wake up with an absolutely splitting headache,
Yep.
and you're unconscious on the floor. You suddenly realize you're in your living room, and I'm standing over you.
Mm,
It can be very, very scary to them. So
yeah. She's asking about bailing out loud. It's a TLC show with a girl with Tourette's. I'm guessing
I
she's.
have not seen that show, Mel.
What about the Tourette's portion? Do you know, or have you dealt with people with Tourette's before?
Not to that extent.
Mm,
Again, the Tourette's that is portrayed in Hollywood is one of the more extreme versions, if that makes any sense.
yeah. It's usually
But,
just like a tick of the muscle or something where you just
it can be twitches, ticks, things like that.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anything about her Tourette's or anything, so it'd be hard to comment. And we've had patients who have like focal motor tremors or focal seizures,
Yeah.
and we'll roll up at the house, and there's one I'm thinking of right now. She'd be sitting there, and her hand would be going like this, just this hand.
Yeah.
But she knew if something wasn't done to stop that, she'd have a seizure within about 10-15 minutes. She'd start with just tremors of her hand that would get worse and worse and worse and spread.
Yeah.
So it's a neuron in your brain's misfiring, short-circuiting,
Mm.
and if something's not done to quell that, it'll spread.
Oh.
And she'll go full-blown. So it's like, okay. But you'd sit there and it's like, okay. And you had to like tell her to put down her phone so you could use the other arm, try to get an IV because you weren't going to do much in this.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. It's like, okay, get the IV, get the meds drawn up, and deal with it.
That's the psyche part though, because I had a long time ago. It hasn't happened anymore except that one time. But I had a sibling who we went to go see a movie in a theater, and it was warm out. But you go in the theater and it's cold, and for some odd reason she started having a seizure. Now she wasn't shaking as much, but we did have to get to like emergency because she was kind of unconscious as it was. But she was able to come out of it or whatever. But yeah, dealing with someone with a seizure, especially the first time, right? Like you've never seen sign of a seizure, or they've never told you about it, and all of a sudden they're just boom. And you're like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with this because it can be very scary.
Oh yeah,
It's like like you said, it's like a reset of the brain. That person doesn't know what happened at all, but you're just sitting there like watching someone like spasm out to no end.
right. And the first thing, I mean, you've got to come up with the right music for the event.
Mm.
I recommend Jerry Lee Lewis, whole lot of shaking going on. Now, when they wake up, if they're having any kind of chest pain, then we're going to switch it over to Achy Breaky Heart.
Yeah. Next thing you know is if they do it too much. How many glasses of whiskey per day will lead to good health? Is it 8 or 10? So that's a question for you.
I would say anything in moderation is good. It would be probably body weight dependent, and also how strong the whiskey is and how much ice you put in it.
Yeah.
As we always say, that the doctors tell us to drink more and more water, so I freeze some and I put it in with my whiskey.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, because well, this whiskey's a little too watery. I should put more whiskey in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh goodness. But yeah, it's definitely dealing with, and I know some people they use, what is it? They use was it THC or something like that? Like
Mm-hmm.
cannabis or some form of derivative of cannabis is used to help deal with seizures, at least as far as I
Has
know.
helped with some seizures.
Mm.
I honestly, I am very, very pro not only the recreational but also the medical use of cannabis.
Yeah.
And anybody who wants to question that, look, I have seen the pills that Big Pharma has hung out.
Yeah.
I have gone to the hospital with the 30-year-olds who have literally gallon-sized Walmart bags of crap.
Wow.
And it's like all these pill bottles. You know what? If they think that, THC is going to do them better, I am all for it.
Yeah.
Because anything they put these people on, they put on 1 to fix the problem and 2 to fix the side effects of those.
I remember listening to like one of those medical advertisements, and it was like one of them would be like some like anal seepage and all this other stuff. I'm like, come on.
Yes. And they have to actually say that. Now, granted, that may only be 2% of the population.
Right.
But the patients who have PTSD, some of our vets who have PTSD or military issues or crime victims PTSD, you know what? If it's going to take the edge off for them to smoke something before they go to bed, hell, I'll light it up for them.
Yeah.
I think it cannot be any worse than all the chemicals. It
Well,
cannot be.
yeah, because it's derivative of a plant. Obviously, there
Hmm.
are poisonous plants out there, so be
Right.
careful. But compared to all the compounds they put into, say, um, what's a good one? No, not Ambien, right?
Ambien. Yeah.
Ambien, or Salatris or something like that. I don't know. All these different drugs have a combination of things in them that yeah, sure they may help with something, but they cause more problems than they help.
Yeah.
Which is the odd thing about medication is you think it would be make opium dens great again.
Great
I don't.
again.
I don't think we talk about that one. But it's the weirdest thing where if people just stuck to some form of a healthy diet and maybe some, because I know there's some things that are out of
Hmm.
the control of that. But if you put people on a healthy diet and sort of light exercise or whatever, the point of the matter is though you probably have a lot more people that have less problems than they do now by eating McDonald's and whatnot. And McDonald's not really that great for you. One
Right.
one point
And
it was, yeah.
I think diet is great, but again, we've seen patients, you know, chronic pain patients,
Mm,
chronic neuropathic pain, like fibromyalgia and all that whole neuroleptic pain.
yeah,
And you know what? You talk to them, and they literally are moving to states where they can get it
yeah,
legally for medical purposes because it's the only thing. And it's a choice of that or take them out of the workforce and pay their bills forever on disability
mhm,
and they can't function.
yeah,
And it's, that between, wait a minute, this person is totally functional and doing a 40-hour,
yeah.
a week job. Yeah.
There was a lady I had on. She's from Alaska, and of course, she's one who has autoimmune disease,
Hmm.
and she was on that sort of stuff, like smoking or whatever,
Hmm.
because there was just so much pain that she was in, being part of. And I mean, there were pictures of where she'd like taking pictures of her back, and there'd be almost look like a big bruise on her back or something like that. I don't know what it was. Um, but yeah, she was definitely smoking as well. But and she's a mom too, right? So she kind of needs something to help with that pain. And I'm sure she's not like inside, in the way with the kids and all stuff, because smoking it is, yeah, it's just not a nice smell. But
Right.
there are people who do kind of need it, and I don't know what the laws are for Alaska, but she was able to get it. So I mean, there must be
Right.
something.
I don't know Alaska. I know here that we've talked about doing it for medical base. And honestly, even I will say this: I have never, ever, and again, been back to the '90s, worked an overdose of marijuana that was fatal.
Mm,
Never.
mm,
I've worked opioid overdoses that are fatal
mm,
in the last month.
mm.
I've Narcan people back from the edge in the last
Jeez.
month. Um, I've seen, some of these things just unbelievable. And it's like, okay, this is going to fix them. I've
Mm,
seen people who are getting on, hydrocodone, 6 10 milligram tablets, and they're barely functional humans. And it's like, wow, these chronic pain patients, cancer patients.
yeah.
And it's like, if they think that smoking something is going to help them more than all this junk,
Mm.
God bless them. Let them have it.
Yeah, because I a long time ago went to get my wisdom teeth out, and that's always a fun thing. But they did kind of give like a high dosage of things like 800 milligrams for like ibuprofen, and something for hydrocodone, which is the lesser version. But I was really not one of those people because I didn't take it very much. I probably had like maybe took one, and I still had a full bottle of all that stuff.
Right.
But it is, they do say that it is a very addictive medication. I don't
Hmm.
think you can get addicted to ibuprofen, but still you can get
No.
addicted to the codeine.
The
Bec-
hydrocodone, that stuff, that's opioids.
yeah,
That's in the same family as morphine, fentanyl,
yeah,
oxys, roxys, doxys, all that crap. Yeah.
yeah. And I just don't want to. It's sort of like you can have that show, house where he's taking Valium to kind of ease his leg pain, but it's usually for something else.
Is it Valium? I thought it was Percocets.
Oh well, it was. I think they said Valium. I think they said Valium to somebody, and I think there were Percocets as well, but it was Valium was the main one.
Okay. Someone's gonna have to fact check me on that one.
I'll
Because
look it
I
up.
thought it was an opioid addiction. Valium is a benzo.
I gotta look up. Trying to find. Cynic. Oh, Vicodin. That's it. Vicodin.
Okay, that's opiate based.
Yeah, Vicodin. That's the one. It started with V. It started with V,
Yep,
but I was
yep.
off.
But that's all in that same fentanyl, morphine, opiate, opioid. That's all in the same family. They're all cousins.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to the other family, you mentioned Valium. That's like your Ativan, clonazepam, diazepam, lorazepam, the PAM drugs.
Yeah.
Those are all benzos.
Mm.
You know,
Okay. Well, I was sort
Viagra.
of
Yeah.
it was not.
Yeah.
It wasn't Viagra.
Actually, if he took enough Viagra, that fixed his limp. But we won't talk about how.
He had 3 legs that day.
Mhm.
He took. Well, the biggest one was Vicodin, though. The biggest
Yeah.
ones of the ones he
That
took.
was his addiction. It was
Yeah.
an opioid addiction.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it was mostly just for taking away the pain, but the pain was something more beyond that.
Mhm.
And I like when what about animal based? I'm like, I don't think anyone's licking those arrow poison frogs anytime soon.
Probably not.
Oh,
However, I did notice that someone mentioned psilocybin on there. Neuro mentioned that. And
yeah.
again, we've got from 20 years of playing in the sandbox overseas, we've got a percentage of our population that's dealing with some pretty bad PTSD from stuff they saw.
Yeah.
And again, if they're using ketamine now for treatment, now 10 years ago, everyone was like, oh, ketamine is like horse tranquilizer. Ketamine is horse tranquilizer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? EMS now carries ketamine in some states because of the fact you can use it on severe behavioral issues.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because
Total absolute meltdown that is out of control. We can use ketamine to actually help take that down.
Is that injection or other? Because if they're really going at it, you would think you'd have to do like a EpiPen sort of thing.
Yes.
Get that trank dart ready. It's time to go.
Oh no, it's not a trank dart, but it's once you've got somebody who's out of control, once you've got them secured, the biggest problem you have is that they'll injure themselves trying to get loose.
Yep.
If they're in restraints and they're trying to break restraints loose and this, that, and the other, you can use ketamine to control that. Let's see what's in my. They gave my mama ketamine in the hospital when she dislocated her hip so that they could pop it back into place. It caused amnesia. She didn't even remember the pain of having it pop back in.
Wow.
Yes, that's right, Minnie. They sent Mama Minnie to a K-hole.
she had trouble coming back out, but she didn't remember it.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, that's anything, you hear about how bad fentanyl is.
Uh-huh.
I had a little lady a few weeks ago. I, accidentally mentioned what I was going to give her. Now, she had a bone sticking out of her lower leg.
Oh.
Now, my basic life support truck was out on scene with her.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have drugs.
Yeah.
They took a look at this lady's leg, and they're like, yeah, call the squad. So rescue come out. I come walking in, and I kind of had a hunch because they had told dispatch they needed me emergent pain management. Okay. I come walking in. I take a look at her leg. I was like, oh, shit.
Yep.
So we're going to deal with this. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the EMT was sitting there, and they're starting to do some of the charting.
Yeah.
And I'm getting the IV started and everything else. And I'm going to ride this call in with them, and the other EMT is going to drive my truck and meet me at the hospital. Well, anyway,
yeah.
The EMT's like, what are you going to go with? I said, oh, we're going with fentanyl. And this woman's like,
Yeah.
don't kill me, don't kill me, don't kill me. I'm like, lady, I promise you, in the right hands, this is not that bad.
Yeah.
But. And yeah, I hit her with fentanyl.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah.
50 on scene before we splinted, and 50 on the way to the hospital. Because you know what? As pretty as those trucks look on the outside, they don't ride that great on the inside.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Oh.
if you're bouncing, I mean, we've got it splinted and positioned and padded the best you can.
Yeah.
But we're riding old country roads over a railroad tracks to the hospital.
Oh man.
And that's when you're glad that your paramedic has happy juice.
There you go, happy juice. I give him some LSD or something. But yeah, there was
not LSD, but honestly, anything less than that is lousy paramedic practice.
Yeah.
I mean, they got there and they're like, we don't want to move this or mess with this woman's leg. She's in like 10 out of 10 pain.
Yeah.
Until we can do something. Okay, I got that.
No,
and she lived, and we had a wonderful chat on the way down there.
Nice.
And she's like, well, I was just so worried because what if I get addicted? And I'm like, honey, trust me, you're not going to get addicted in the 30 minutes it takes to get to the hospital. You're not the first little old lady I've narked up this month. Just saying.
Oh, goodness. No, it sort of reminds me, there was a story, I think it was like Ripley's Believe It or Not or something like that, or some medical mystery, but there was a story of some weird thing happened where this gentleman got a knock on his door, right? He opened his door, and for some weird reason, I can't remember the exactness of it, but a gentleman just took like a serrated blade and just stabbed him in the head. Now, obviously, this guy was still moving around and stuff. He did not die, but there's some things I can't handle. But there's just reminded me of that sort of thing. We just have that like, hospital now, get you to the hospital now. I think there was another story too of like a railroad spike. Someone got a railroad spike, but I tell you, man, some of these medical stuff, man, I don't think I'd survive. I'm I have enough trouble trying to donate platelets. Okay, that's how bad it is. Oh no, plasma. Sorry, plasma. It's hard enough donating plasma for me.
You don't want to ask me. So, anything fun last shift? Yeah, you don't.
I'm good. Feels great when used as intended. Yes,
it's a tool. Yes. Firearms are the same way.
Yeah. But the only problem is that a majority of cases are people who misuse fentanyl, and you have this sort of addictiveness. At least
I will say this. One of the biggest problems we've got is not the fentanyl that's coming through the normal route. The problems we're seeing in the street, and I will say it very bluntly, are these homemade pills. Because there is an industry out there that goes out and grinds up some type of powder and pulverizes it. They then, they may be using the jumbo Acme size bottle of aspirin or whatever. Yeah. They pulverize this powder all the way down. They mix some fentanyl in with it because fentanyl is the opiate.
Right.
They mix this up as well as they can. There's no quality control doing this because they're doing it in the back of a house.
Yeah.
And then they make pills out of that by compressing and pressing it with a pill press.
Right.
Now, I'm saying this, and if you look up my opiate narcotics video that's on that channel, you'll actually see a lot of it.
Yeah.
Because what we see is so-and-so gets these homemade pills that look totally real, and there's no quality control.
Yeah.
Now, if you've ever made homemade chocolate chip cookies, now I'm not talking just the popping fresh dough, I'm talking from scratch.
Yeah.
You know as well as I do, this one gets 8 chips in it, this one's got 14, this one's got 3, and this one's like the wrong size.
Yeah.
Well, if you got 8 chips of fentanyl, it was what you should have gotten in that pill had you bought it from a real pharmaceutical maker.
Yeah.
If you've got 14, it's enough to take you out.
Jeez.
There's not a nice therapeutic window with fentanyl. It's got to be used in a very tight, constrained,
Yeah.
If you take 1 baby aspirin in the morning, which is 81 milligrams, or 2, your difference is going to be nothing. If you pop 3 or 4, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but when you get into fentanyl, you hit double the dose and you are going to be possibly in trouble.
Yeah.
And what's
Yeah.
happening is the lack of quality control with these homemade pill press groups, and they're making them for sale.
Yeah.
And so, they have to put enough in there because when someone's addicted to opiates, they go into withdrawal after so many hours.
Yep.
So what's going to happen is they're craving that opiate, mu receptors. We can get into the biology of that, but
Yeah.
they're going to go out and they're going to pay top dollar for these pills, 10,
Oh,
15
yeah.
bucks a piece.
Yep.
So they get 10 bucks a piece, they get 5 of them,
Mm-hmm.
and it turns out that they're much too strong because the quality control wasn't there.
Yeah. Yep.
Or one of them's too weak, one of them's too strong, and before you know it,
Yep.
that's where we're seeing the fentanyl deaths. People
Jeez.
lacing stuff with it. Yeah.
Yep. Well, there was. And you're talking like other drugs too. Like there was stuff like they lace, the cocaine is still a big thing, or heroin, whatever. They're lacing these drugs with something else, and it's bad. Like you say, quality control. Nothing for of those things, but you hear those stories of it's the quality control factor, and these drugs are filled with stuff they shouldn't be, and that's where the death starts going from that.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was an instructor for a while at the State Fire Academy part-time, specializing in hazmat and technical rescue.
mhm,
And if you looked, and when we had to go through our clan lab, our drug lab hazmat training, and to
yeah,
go into these places, when you looked at some of the recipes, oh yeah, red dye or red hat plumbing lye,
mhm.
lithium
Oh,
batteries, anhydrous ammonia.
mm-mm,
Really? And
yeah,
you're putting this in your body? That's the meth. That's meth recipes. And we had to learn it and literally know when you go in what was what chemical and how to handle that chemical safely so it didn't blow up.
yeah. Oh, it's awful. Red Devil Lie.
Yep.
Red Devil Lie. Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. But I mean, it just goes to show that they're just made to sell to get addicted to, because
Oh
that's
yeah.
where the money's made.
Oh yeah. And this meth is bad. Meth is
Mm,
bad.
yeah, and make it so hard for the people that need pain management to get medication. I love people that resorted to heroin because
Yes.
of that. Wow.
Yes.
Jeez.
And
Heroin.
unfortunately, the pendulum has swung too far back the other way.
Mm,
You go back 15 years ago,
mm,
the pendulum was so far to the propane med point
mm,
that it was absolutely crazy. They were, if you went to a physician and they did not adequately address your pain in your perception,
yeah.
you could file a complaint on them and get them investigated.
Jeez.
You didn't adequately get your pain
Jeez.
addressed. Hospitals would literally come down to the ER and
Mm,
yell at ER doctors for not adequately managing a patient's pain.
jeez.
And so Medicare, Medicaid, the federal government leaned on them. Pain is the 5th vital sign now. I mean, it was literally so much push. You either give good pain control or we're going to investigate your medical license. So
Jeez.
what do the doctors do? Is your pain addressed? Is your pain addressed? Is your pain addressed? Here, you need more drugs? Here.
Yep.
They had to. It was self-preservation.
Yeah, it's the definition of basically giving it away at a certain point. Kinsey says, I learned after a CPS investigation what people used to make meth. At the time, I had no idea why they were asking about things like that. Wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's insane.
Is
But
she?
yeah,
I'm taking Kinsey's one of your regulars, or
Kinsey, I've had Kinsey on before, so he's been on.
okay.
He's been on a show before, but he has his own show where he talks about stuff like you talk about, like the whole political or
Oh,
stuff
okay.
like that. He does gaming too, but he talks about certain stuff like you do as well. So, but not the extent like you have on the ground sort of experience with stuff.
I just like playing. I'll come in here and run my mouth. It's like, yeah.
That's what my show is all about. But yeah, no, that sucks. A CPS investigation though, that's yeah. That's rough. I hope it wasn't against you, because that sucks when you have a family who maybe they say something or do something out of line, considered out of line, but they're practically just, like a regular family. They're not like those people. And then all of a sudden you have CPS called because somebody saw something, and now you could possibly lose your kids to the government in that manner. And that just
Hmm.
sucks in its own right. I can't,
And
okay.
that's a mess. And the other thing is, I come back to the other side of the coin is I feel bad sometimes for the CPS people because you're required to have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
Okay, if they come out and there's any hint of anything, but maybe it's okay, but maybe it's not, but maybe it's not,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
gray area. I don't know.
Mm.
Well, now all of a sudden, now a week later, they go back and the child is no longer with us. So what happens? You better err on the side of protecting the child.
Yeah.
So what happens if 6 out of 10 times that you remove a kid, you didn't need to,
Mm.
but if you don't,
You don't have a kid.
you better have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
You better figure out which 4 of those 10 that you should remove.
Mm.
And you need to do it now. And oh, by the way, you just got a call from the police. They just found another kid dead. I've got friends who, we deal with them with child and adult protective services.
Yeah.
And, they are triaging every day,
Jeez.
trying to figure out.
Uh,
I watched one of the videos, TV show, Law and Order,
yeah.
where they were talking about, CPS hadn't been investigating these foster parents well enough, and the kid ended up, injured or deceased, and they were running CPS through the ringers, and the CPS worker was like, "Look, do you know how many cases I've got?"
Yeah.
Yes, I was triaging.
Yes.
And, oh, by the way, I was in the hospital last night because the doctor called me because the kid came in with like oven burns on their hand. And so you sit there and like, is this really going on in the world? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same. We deal with it in the EMS world. I'd love to drop into every house in 5 minutes flat. If you give me the budget to put an ambulance within 5 minutes of every house, I would be. And let me put a paramedic on every one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have it.
Yep. And Kenny says it was there were people claiming I was manufacturing and other lies. Lithium batteries? No, I use nickel metal hydride. .3 Blake fluid. It's in the back of the van, etc. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, lithium batteries like the CR123 camera batteries.
Yeah. Oh, the circular ones, right? The circular ones.
No, not the button batteries.
Button buttons.
The
Okay.
CR123 lithium batteries. They're
Mm.
3-volt apiece.
Wow.
Yeah, they actually rip those open and pull the lithium strips out of them.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That is insane. And it
I
just
have this fun life I've lived.
well,
Aircraft firefighting, hazmat,
but
little Band-Aid buggy every now and then.
but it's also informative too, because my thing is that people get their news from the news, right? You're getting from sources that have no idea to people who are being paid on the spot or whatever. But you're someone who's been on the ground floor and you've seen this stuff, not maybe personally, but you have, like you said with CPS, you have people who've been in it too, and they tell you. The point of the matter is, those some people do not get that experience, and they rely on the news, that people who don't have anything to do with it at all, they just report on some article or whatever. But you're someone who's on the ground floor and either gets to see it or gets to hear it from people you trust upon these matters. A lot of people don't get that, and that goes for independent media too, because or independent.
It's like,
news.
I'll tell you honestly, and I'm not going to throw the name out there,
Mm,
but there is a very, very prominent independent media streamer
mhm.
who I watch his videos regularly. I
Yeah.
support him regularly.
Mhm.
And he was trying to explain what happened in that stabbing in Texas, the medical version of it.
Oh, the one through the heart, right? The football player.
Yes.
Okay.
And he was explaining a little bit of the anatomy about that whole thing and everything else.
Mhm.
And I was listening to it. will be wandering around on my days off. I'll have my headset on and I'll have like one earbud in and be listening to the video. And I stop and I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me? Dude, really? Really?"
Yeah.
Yeah. No. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know what anatomy class he ever took, but not the ones I've taken.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Bro, stick to what you know.
Yeah.
Really, please. Call me if you need help.
Yeah.
Please." And seriously, I'll say this to you, and I'll say this to anyone who streams. If you want to talk about aviation and 737 accidents, I know a little bit about Boeing 737s. If you want to talk about hazmat or meth labs or whatever, I know a little bit.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about medicine, I've been dealing with it since 93.
93.
I teach paramedic education.
Jeez.
I was, yeah.
But again, that's my point is that you want to speak to, maybe not dealing with directly with the situation at hand, because you're not there, but you're dealing with some of similar thing, talking about the medical anatomy or whatever, and to have someone like that against someone who's just there is like, I have no idea, I'm just talking in my butt and just replying on what's there. That's the difference between, you would think, between great journalism and just speak old media journalism.
Well, the thing that's nice on my channel is I'll say I get to sort of pick my battles.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have to know about what settlement is what in Gaza, and I don't from Adams, totally lost on that topic.
Yeah.
You ask me about how to set up a runway and how not to have a brick wall at the end of a runway.
Yeah.
I can figure that part out. But I mean, the thing was, it was a Boeing aircraft. And so all of a sudden, another Boeing crash. Yeah, okay. Boeing makes millions of aircraft. Yep. This Boeing aircraft has been out since like the early 90s.
Yep.
It was not a manufacturer's defect. It was not a door that blew out.
Yeah.
It was nothing, And again, I have an interest in it, so I'll follow up on how in the heck did we have that plane crash in D.C.? Well, let me read the NTSB 100-page report.
Yeah. Jeez.
And then when they show the corridor, that literally they had the helicopter flying this way with the plane's 3-degree glide slope coming into the end of the runway this way. And so, 75-foot gap. And then there's the list of previous near misses there.
Jeez.
Okay, so I can't blame. Now, technically, it's going to probably come out that the pilot of the helicopter was too high.
Yeah.
But they were too high by 50 feet. You can't necessarily, go with that.
You're getting called out in chat by Miss Minnie.
Yeah. My friend is going to school for emergency management.
Very cool subject.
It really is. It's fun.
Yeah. But
for those of y'all who weren't here in the beginning, I am a paramedic. I've been a paramedic since 1998, been an EMT since 93, firefighter, wildland firefighter, aircraft rescue firefighter.
Wow.
And spent 5 years on the South Carolina Fire Academy adjunct faculty, specializing in hazmat and technical rescue.
Jeez.
So you want to learn about ropes hanging from buildings or, hazmat scenes? And no, Minnie, I am not teaching them how to make meth. I wouldn't give out your famous recipe.
I saw that. It's like, oh, come on. Just telling you about it. Come on now. But anyway, it's getting to the top of the hour again, and I think we're gonna kind of wind it off from there because I do. Oh, and she's like saying it again with capital letters. She's like, nerd. Can't get a break.
It's okay, Minnie. We love you. You're pretty.
You're the special one in the family. We'll still take you anyway. But anyway, we're gonna go.
I have definitely enjoyed it, sir. I'm glad we finally got a chance to do it.
Yeah. Oh, same. Because it was last time. I think it was like something came up, and you couldn't do it. So
we were gonna do it, and then I was working for a while in the office at 911, and they swapped my shift at the 11th hour.
Yeah.
Because of shorthandedness. And then, of course, we had the hurricane come through here back in
that's right.
October.
Yep.
So we had no power and no internet for a couple weeks.
Yep. So, but glad we were able to do it. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a promotional stuff first, and then kind of go do a few other things. And of course, I do. If you are a Rumble Premium user, because I am part of that creator program, you can. If you have Rumble Premium, you can stay for the wrap up, which I do a little after. But if not, uh, still get to enjoy the full show anyway. But anyway, let's do our promotional stuff, and we'll go from there. So, up to you, sir.
Alrighty. Folks, if you're interested, if you like what you hear, you can follow me on The Gun Club on Rumble. It's also on YouTube, but we have more fun on Rumble. And Real Hard Truths, which is Rumble exclusive because, quite frankly, we do tell the truth, and some people on certain tubes don't, like, they can't handle the truth. Okay, we'll leave it there. But I'm paramedic, Mike Sullivan. Everyone knows me as Sully. So, love to hear you, love to see you. And if you have a question, by all means, hit me up on Twix or Twitter or whatever we call it this week.
Never, don't confuse him for the plane saver Sully. That he had a beard, so I don't think that's gonna work.
He's a little bit older than me, and he was flying an Airbus. I prefer Boeing. Sorry.
You're like, I understand. But yes, his links on either Rumble or YouTube. His links are down below in the description. So, and of course, thank you, Nora, for posting this up. I think you posted, yeah, you posted X twice. So I don't know what happened there. But his links are down in the description below on both ends. So if you guys want to give him a look, and if he's worth the follow, why not? Right? That's the ordeal. I don't say go follow somebody. I say if they're worth the follow, because that person has to prove that they're worth the follow. So I ain't gonna be here like all this stuff. Oh, and there you go. Real Hard Truths. Thank you, Neuro, for that. Oh, look at that. Dashboard has followed you. There you go.
Yeah, great. Good to see.
But beyond.
And we have fun. We have fun. I do live streams again, sort of periodically, depending on my EMS work schedule, because
Yeah.
the real world job has to come first to pay the bills.
Yep.
But I try to pick out interesting topics, things that it's a big story that the news gave 5 minutes to, and I'm like, okay, let's dig in here.
Yeah, yep, definitely. And there are many of those that are, especially when it's all negative news and there's no really good news either, which there's good news out there too. So, but other than that, for my end of things, whether you're on the Rumble side or whether on the YouTube side, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like, sharing the content, leaving a comment or follow, anything that helps with the engagement factor is much appreciated, because not only does it help in being seen more, but it also helps in having other people on, like Sully here from the Gun Club, or like Knizi, or Bill Dozer, or so many other people. At the end of the day, I do this thing to talk to people out of wide ranges and all the stuff, creator or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is having conversations across the way, and that's what I enjoy doing. So any help with the engagement factor is much appreciated. I have a link down below as well. Check it out. Twitter, X, email, all that sort of stuff. If you want to come on yourself, guess what? There's a comment section down below on either end, or you can do that link on either end. And either way, I hope to see you soon. Of course, any help with engagement, link down below. I appreciate it. And tomorrow at where's my calendar? And tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, I get to have on once again the Masculine Cargo. He is coming on again, so hopefully you'll see all that for that. Oh, thank you for that as well. Neurodivergent. Oh, he put your there we go. Your Rumble for the Gun Club.
Sweet.
There
Appreciate
we
it, Neuro. Yeah, he pops in and out of a lot of my shows, and then Mary and Mel, I appreciate you dropping in tonight.
Yeah,
I think Mary got you some likes on YouTube also.
Well, thank you for that.
She's always nice to cross-pollinize.
Yeah, yep. That's why I do it too, is because I talk to many people from here, YouTube, Twitch. I've talked to someone from Kick. I've talked all over the place. But what it matters is just having a conversation across the way, because it doesn't feel like we do that very much anymore, or it doesn't seem like that, because I follow a lot of different people and they just stick to their niches, which is fine. Do what you will. But there's always room for conversation about whatever, and I'm glad to be able to get you to have you on. But anyway, yeah, like I said, tomorrow Masculine Cargo is on at 7 p.m. Eastern, and of course, the last thing I do before I go with my guest is, of course, questions from a hat. So I bought a hat from Mumble and put some questions in it. So these good people, yeah, it's very good people. So what happens is my guest, you get 2 freebie questions. However, If people want more than those 2 questions, they have to give a Rumble rant. Now, obviously, I am on YouTube, but I'm not monetized,
Right.
so that's not going to happen. But if you're
No.
on Rumble, I'm monetized, and you can give a Rumble rant. Doesn't matter the amount. What matters is if you want more than the 2, you got to give a Rumble rant for it. That's how this works. So I'm going to pull out the first question. Very basic questions anyone can answer, although some are a brain picker, so you have to. Some people have had trouble, but let me pick
Okay.
out one.
So these questions for me or
Yep, for you.
okay.
All right, so here's the first one.
Okay.
And the first one is, what sound/noise do you love to hear? Or what sound or noise is pleasant to your ears? Put it that way.
Oh, I'd say probably like outside at night in the woods where you just got crickets chirping or birds, just
Mhm,
the very peaceful sort of the lull of nature.
mhm.
It's silent, but it's not 100% silent. It's just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, 100% silent would be very scary because that would
Yeah,
mean
it's like,
something.
okay, what's going on? But it's like, okay, just the nature is so peaceful.
Yep.
Yeah, I can go out and sit again out forever.
Oh yeah, and it's the best time, especially when you can enjoy a campfire and maybe cook something over it.
Mhm.
Rain on a tin roof. There you go. Rain on a tin
Yeah,
roof.
I can see that.
Or rain on a car roof, because if you're sitting in the car, that can be nice too. Question number 2. Obviously, if anyone wants a room rant, and this one's real easy. Are you left-handed or right-handed?
I've actually got a good answer on that one. I am right-handed in almost everything,
Uh,
with the exception of hockey for whatever reason I don't
mm,
know. I swing a baseball bat right-handed.
mm,
Hockey, I play left-handed.
mm. Interesting.
So when I was growing up, it's like we'd be like Park and Rec or anything else, and they'd bring
Mm,
out the old barrel of hockey sticks,
mm,
and I'd always be going over, and the coach would be like, "No, that's a left-handed one." Yeah, I know, but
Jeez.
that's I know.
My dad is ambidextrous, even though he's more left-handed. He's very ambidextrous. He can use both hands.
Hmm.
But that's on some other things. But I mean, there's some people who are like that, who are just ambidextrous, but it's not very much. It's
But
not very
when
much.
I played baseball, I'd hit right-handed, and
Mm,
I tried to learn to switch it. I won't say I couldn't do it, but it wasn't very
mm,
good.
yeah.
And then when I got into the point of hockey, it was always left-handed.
Hmm. Yep. That's the fun part. Oh well. Yep. Yep. That is too. And one thing I love about Georgia. In Georgia was the big fat rain on my roof while I slept. There you
Mhm.
go. Me too. All right. Well, again, guys, thank you for being here.
Folks, I appreciate coming out.
And thank you, Sully, for coming on, even after all, even after all this time of trying to get it on. I was
And
gonna
I'd love
love
to
you
come
on.
back again sometime. And
Yeah. Oh,
folks,
you're
make
always welcome
sure,
back.
we've gone ahead given him a thumbs up.
Yeah. So thank you.
Spends
You're right.
time, he lines up guests, he does all this to try to bring y'all something interesting and something different and unique.
Oh yeah.
And he's
You want to
chased
talk?
me down for like on and off. Yeah.
You want to talk about getting people together? That's a whole month right there. She's Louise.
Hmm.
And I still have trouble trying to wrangle people. Y'all keep rumbling. Well, thank you, Kinesia. I appreciate that. But yeah, definitely. And again, guys, if you have Rumble Premium, yeah, I know, whatever. But at the end of the day, I am part of the program, so I do this thing. If you do have Rumble Premium, stay for the wrap up. If not, thank you for being here. And of course, you are always welcome back, Mr. Sully, for here. Because again, it's just a conversational show. I know people say, "Well, what topics do you have? What do you have to ask?" I'm like, it's just a conversational show. You'll find out soon enough. You'll find out soon enough. I just got home from work. I already watched. Hey, we're almost done. We're going into the premium part. So, but anyway, guys, I end the show. Oh, and don't forget, mute your mic so the video doesn't bleed. But as always, I end the show. I gotta find it first. Oh, there we go. I end the show with "One Day with You" by Pogo. If you've got premium, stay for the wrap up. If you don't, I will see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern with Masculine Cargo. Gonna be a great time. Bye, guys.